Hey everybody, so in this video just wanted to share with you some of my general thoughts around posture, stretching, and perhaps other thoughts that occur to me in the moment about healthy piano playing. So I may talk about how I think one should hold oneself up at the piano, perhaps some things about bench height and distance from the piano, and anything else that if you asked me in one-on-one conversation, hey, how do you think that I should be sitting at the piano? These are probably some of the things that I would say. And on this channel, I hope to share with you strategies, thoughts, insights, methods, etc., often of my own creation, that I hope will help you in your piano playing, maybe even other areas of your life as well. So it's a very informal, conversational style that I'm trying to go for here in describing technique. It's not meant to be exhaustive. There are certainly other videos on the channel that talk about other aspects of technique. So if you search my name, David Chang, hand shape and orientation, there are at least 2 videos about that. There is a video on 3-dimensionality in movement for how to derive healthy wrist and arm movements at the piano. And there's a video about holding and relaxing, which is one of my foundational technical principles in my physical methodology. So that's a really good way to find relaxation and in many different aspects, many different facets of your piano playing. So here I just wanted to talk more broadly about how one might sit at the piano and what one should consider perhaps. So I think a lot of students, first of all, tend to sit too close. It'll tend to be that the bench is like this, and then that really greatly restricts movement to the extremes of the piano. So I think it's a good idea to sit on the front half of the bench, and roughly we have perhaps knuckles to the fall board, and roughly the forearms are parallel with the floor. There's always going to be some nuance to this, depending on each person's individual body, of course, but yeah, in terms of the forearms being parallel to the floor, if you feel like you're reaching down from below or you're having to reach down from above, then you can and should adjust your bench height. So I think it's a very good idea to have an adjustable bench. It doesn't need to be like an extremely fancy one, so that you can raise or lower the bench to the height that is best for you. And I think most people will tend to sit way too close, but obviously if you're having trouble even reaching the keys overall, then you can adjust the bench so that's a bit closer. And don't sit all the way like this. I think it's a lot harder to have more specific control over how you shift your weight this way. So since you're sitting on the front half of the bench and people tend to sit too close, it's actually surprising to most that the bench is going to be probably quite a bit further away than you're used to if you have the tendencies of most people. And then from here, we don't want to scoot back and forth at different extremes of the piano. For the most part, you essentially want to just lean back and forth on your behind here in order to access different parts of the piano. So if I'm playing, I'm actually some leaning back and forth if I feel like it's easier to get my arm weight or even my entire upper body's weight over to certain areas of the piano. And especially as adults, because even kids with bodies that typically are much smaller than ours, believe it or not, they are able to, if they can just balance themselves correctly and shift their weight correctly, get that weight around to different parts of the piano without too much trouble. So in terms of how you carry yourself up at the piano, I will be honest. I don't think that I necessarily am holding myself up very, very tall and noble at all times, the way that perhaps the great pianists did. And some people consider it to be like a golden age of pianism, maybe the end of the 1800s, early 1900s, and so on. So at that time, there were some really, incredible, some of the greatest pianists in history that perhaps they might sit nice and upright like this, and they're using their arm weight and maybe sometimes their upper body's weight. I would say that I don't want to hold excessive tension in my shoulders or my elbows or anything like that. I don't want to do anything unnatural, but I'm very much about utilizing your arm weight and your entire upper body's weight when it's warranted. So you will see me more hunched over at times, and I don't want to, purposely do this, for example, but it's very common if I want to play a large chord, here or here, I'm going to be shifting and probably leaning my entire upper body here or there. And that's perfectly fine and natural as long as it helps you to get the sound that you want. So of course you don't want to hunch over excessively, but I wouldn't say you need to sit like bolt upright all the time. I don't think that's particularly natural either. And in terms of stretches and that sort of, sometimes people will ask, oh, what should I do to warm up and everything? I think just like you would do before playing tennis or any other kind of physical activity, you can do stretches, you can have a routine. I really don't do anything exact. I don't do any kind of very elaborate, fancy routine. The only stretches that I typically might do, and there's no particular order to them, I might go like this and just kind of stretch out like the backs of my arms here. Never very hard. It's not for the sake of, I'm not trying to be like a gymnast or anything like that. And then I might do palms like this. So I'm feeling a little bit here, okay? And not in any kind of super methodical way. It's totally fine if you have a much more methodical way of doing this. And then lightly with the fingers, because I don't want to like aggravate this either. So I might just do that. I might do this with the shoulders. It's really just whatever occurs to me in the moment. I don't sit down at the piano and think I'm going to do all these stretches each day. I think it's great if you have a routine that works for you at the piano and maybe in other parts of your life as well. I might have some like neck rolls and so on, but I can't say that I do like 3 neck rolls this way, 3 neck rolls the other way or anything. I think it's good not to do things too fast or too hard. I might just go like this and shake things out like this. So I'll just naturally take some breaks and just do whatever movements occur to me in the moment that can help me loosen myself up as I'm playing. So that's, I might just do any of those movements that you just saw, because sometimes students will ask me if they should be doing something like that. And I'd say if it helps you to loosen up your body and you feel better, like I will just do some of these stretches in no particular order when I feel like it, when I take little breaks away from the practice. I'm not going to go into it too much here, but I usually always advocate playing cold. So when I say playing cold, I mean like instead of warming up with scales and other things like that first, usually I'll just start with performing a piece of music that I'm working on, or the student might just start with performing whatever piece they're going to perform in the student recital, or whatever piece they would most like to play for family or friends, without trying out the piano first or warming up with scales. Because I think that you can warm yourself up if you want to with some light cardio, with some stretches, but it's much more similar to waiting in the audience and then just going up and performing. Or somebody asks you, hey, can you play something? And it's rather nice to be able to just sit down and play confidently right away. We won't always have that luxury of warming up with scales and so on. So, you do what you need to do to loosen up your body and feel healthy and feel good about it. But I don't think that one needs to go through an elaborate warm-up routine with literally playing the piano. I think it's actually much more versatile, useful, and practical if you are able to essentially sit down and play right away. Let's see, anything else very important in terms of posture? I think the main things are just, sit in the front half of the bench, forearms roughly parallel with the floor, knuckles roughly to the soundboard, be able to shift your weight around easily, you're centered, you and the bench roughly at middle C, roughly in front of the logo of the piano a lot of the time. And you're able to then easily shift your weight back and forth, forward, back. So that's what I would say in terms of general thoughts around posture, stretching, etc. In my other videos, like I mentioned, if you look for my physical methodology playlist, there are still lots of other ideas as well. I do think that your health, your awareness of your body, relaxation, I'll just say briefly, ultimately, I believe it's up to you. And when I say you, I mean whoever's listening to this, just like how when I studied with my own great teacher, to whom I owe much of my pianistic career, ultimately everything's up to me. It doesn't matter how great the teacher is. Nobody can feel the sensations of your body for you. So like he can teach me all the, fantastic information that he taught me, like how to move my wrists, how to move my arms. He can recommend books and resources. He can inspire me. He can tell me like very specific movements and so on. But ultimately, it's still up to me once I, let's say I no longer have my fingers in the air. Let's say I'm actually using this wrist motion, and I could still be holding tension here, for example, and it could be invisible even to my great teacher because it's my own body. I can look perfect and beautiful on the outside. My posture, like everything I just showed you, everything could look great, and I could still be carrying invisible tension in this shoulder right now. Like I can tense it hard now, and I can release it, and literally nobody would be able to tell that except for me. So that's why I think it's so important to spend time in contemplation and meditation. It doesn't have to be that you're sitting in this like meditative stance, but it's good to reflect and think during your practice about whether you're actually relaxed or not. And if you search David Chang holding and relaxing, I believe I give a lot of ideas in that video and in other videos as well. So hope that's helpful. Let me know if you have any questions about posture stretching or any other things that I'd mentioned in this video, or maybe some other questions. And if you found this helpful, please like, subscribe, let people know about the channel, and looking forward to the next one.